Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband his job as a stay-at-home dad is only easy because I help out? Original post. I am writing this from the guest bedroom because my husband and I had a fight. So the thing is, my husband is a stay-at-home dad. 3 years ago, he wanted to quit his job and take care of the house and children, 6 female and 2 male. And I supported it because I work a decent job and earn most of the money. My husband takes pride in being a stay-at-home dad. He always brags about how it is the easiest job in this world and women are just complaining for no reason. But the truth is, I help him with the chores as much as I can. In the morning, I wake up and fix the breakfast for them, and my husband gets our daughter ready for school. I also do meal preps for lunch, and all he has to do is assemble them and cook it. I pack my and my daughter's lunch. When I am at work, he does the cleaning and spends time with our son, or does his thing. Later, when I come home, I cook the dinner and give my son a bath, help my daughter with her schoolwork, or I play with them for some time until bedtime. Besides that, whenever we do laundry, I fold the clothes that he washes and put them away. And during deep cleaning of our house, we split the task 50-50. I also handle all doctor's appointments. The system works really well, but I hate that it thinks my contribution is not enough. That he does all the chores and I do not even lift a finger. Moreover, he has a blog and TikTok where he films his days. He also makes posts about how easy it is to be a stay-at-home dad, and women just complain and full of it. That it is the easiest job in this world. I am glad he likes it, but I hate that he thinks he is superior to everyone and invalidating their experience. I grew up in a house where my dad didn't even lift a finger, and my mom did literally everything around the house. He was the fun dad doing bare minimum, so I did not want that to happen to my husband. Also, it is my house too. I believe if both people do chores, the stress becomes less. Also, I know many of my friends who struggle with doing chores as a stay-at-home mom. I also know women who work and still do majority of the chores. And his comments makes me irritated. So yesterday, my friend Ashley came to visit. She's a mother of 2. Her son probably has ADHD and very much active. She has trouble handling her son and gets no help from her husband. Her son breaks a cup in our house. Ashley was saying sorry. My husband cleaned it up and she was complaining how exhausted she is. My husband scoffed and told her, "You must be doing the parent thing wrong because I am a stay-at-home parent too, but I never had problem. My wife barely does anything around the house and it is so easy. Maybe I should give you a lesson or two." I can see Ashley was upset and I understand why. Later that day, I told him what he said to Ashley was very rude, and my husband acted as if he said nothing wrong and was honest. I pointed that he doesn't do all the chores. I help him with at least 40%. That's why he thinks it's easy. He again argued that those chores are not significant compared to what he does. I told him he is being mean to everyone, that we got lucky that our kids are easy and not active. Most of the kids are hard to handle. He again scoffed and said, "How hard can it be?" We argued about this, and he told me I am being ungrateful because no man would ever sacrifice like he did. Now I am upset and gave him some space. Was I wrong to point it out? Edit. Just want to point out, I have no issues with him being a stay-at-home dad. I just don't like his attitude towards it, and the way he thinks it is the easiest job in this world. Because to me and most of the people, it is still a job that has no vacation days. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Welcome to reality. It rarely matters how much the person who works outside the home does at home. It's never enough. Husbands complain that they work 50 hours a week, do all the hard work, all the home maintenance, all the auto maintenance, and help out a little in the house. And they get eviscerated if they don't pitch in 50-50 on housework and give the stay-at-home parent time off at night and on the weekends. We ran the actual numbers with my partner who was stay-at-home. Turned out, I was putting in 30 more hours per week of work outside and inside a home. Try documenting both of your workloads fairly and see what the work equity comes out to be. It may not work out with cleaning or cooking. Look at everything. If your husband is in a deficit, let him know. My husband gets rest after I come home. I know he works all day and deserves a break. It gets exhausting if you are pulling all the emotional chores. I do not want to be one of those people who complain about not wanting to do housework because they're too tired. Also, spending time with my kids is not a chore. It is more of a bonding experience. My concern is his sacrificing. What exactly does that mean? Weren't they choices? So he has sacrificed what? There seems to be some underlying issues for him around his role and the need to feel superior in this role. I'm one for therapy because it could be helpful for him and you in fleshing out the issues with going against cultural gender roles. Shame is a sinister emotion that sometimes masks itself. It was 100% his choice to quit his job and be a stay-at-home dad. In fact, he gets way more praises as a house husband than I did as a housewife. And being a stay-at-home dad has improved his mood. His job was very soul-sucking, so I supported his decision. Not the a-hole. He sounds exhausting and unaware of how self-centered he is. Parenting isn't a competition between him and you. It's a team sport where you both have to participate. Sounds like you are doing more in context, in the home and outside home. Love seeing a stay-at-home dad, but he needs a swift kick in the butt for being full of himself, not valuing your contributions and his misogynistic comments. Stop doing what you're doing and let him truly be a stay-at-home dad, not the a-hole. Yep, see how long he lasts when you stop doing all the stuff is deemed insignificant. If it truly is, then he can't complain about a tiny little increase in workload and you get that time/labor back for you. Yeah, from what Opie described, it just sounds like he's unemployed and not a stay-at-home dad. Now for the update. Okay, I took everyone's advice and stopped working my part of the chores. I did tell him beforehand, since he thinks my contribution to the housework is nothing, that I will stop doing everything altogether. I told him since he thinks being a stay-at-home dad is easy, then he should have a full experience of it. My friend's husband doesn't even lift a finger around the house. So I wouldn't too. He was obviously upset. He wanted to argue I cannot do this to him. He even tried to pull the incompetence card. I told him I am not going to do my portion of the job at home. I also gave the typical excuse of, I work all day at my office so that we can survive on one income. It is selfish for him to expect me to do housework. And that's what I did. I didn't do any housework. I didn't wake up in the morning and made breakfast. My husband had to do it. It wasn't hard for him, but I can see he was moody. I asked him to prepare my lunch because that is also my job. He refused at first, but then I told him he said he will do all the household chores too. That includes my lunch as well. He only packed me a peanut butter jelly sandwich. I didn't do meal prep for lunch either. It was his to figure out. At night when I came home, I didn't make dinner and asked him to do it. He was shocked, but did it anyways. I didn't give my son a bath. He is fuzzy, which ticked my husband off. I only helped my daughter with her homework and I didn't help him with the laundry. The first few days didn't say a word, but after a week, it was showing that he is getting exhausted. He was getting more and more angry at small stuff, and usually cleaning would cool him off. But whenever he sees a mess, he throws a tantrum. In the weekends, I went to my mother's house to relax. That weekend, we were supposed to clean our bathrooms, but he did that all by himself. As the days progressed, I can see him being really angry at me. Even I admit, it has affected our intimacy a lot. At last, after 2 weeks, he told me, basically yelled, that I proved my point. Things are back to normal, but I can see he is very distant with me. Last night I asked him to talk to me. He said he knew what game I was playing, but he did not appreciate me treating him like garbage and not considering his feelings. I told him it was his words that being a stay-at-home dad is easy. I just gave him the full experience of it. He kept saying that I should have been more supportive. All these weeks, he felt like a nobody and so underappreciated. He felt invisible. He started to hate me for not caring and dumping everything on him. He is still not talking to me, and we have booked a couples therapy session next week. Let's see if our relationship sustains or not. I think it goes without saying, but not the a-hole. Not gonna lie, he sounds pretty toxic. Even when he has his come to Jesus moment, he's not actually recognizing that what he's feeling is exactly the thing he was demeaning others for. He thought it was easy, learned it's not, and instead of recognizing it, he pushes everything off on you. I really hope your counseling works, Opie, because he really needs it. Yeah, he's lashing out at her because he doesn't want to face how shameful his own behavior was. Everything was hunky-dory when he was discounting the work that Opie was doing and the amount most stay-at-home parents do. Let's not forget he has consistently shown he is more than happy to discount the work the women around him do. First it was the stay-at-home friends, and then Opie's efforts at home. You're telling me that a stay-at-home parent that does everything around a house while the other parent does nothing but work feels exhausted and unappreciated? What? How could he have possibly known that? Except for the barrage of women who told him they felt this way for years. But that doesn't count. After all, being a stay-at-home parent is easy, right? They were just being dramatic. Aw, he feels unappreciated and invisible? That's how women feel every day. He messed around and found out, and I was pissing like a child. Not the a-hole, but why are you with a loser? He literally can't do anything on his own, and you hurt his man ego. Like, what does he bring to the table? And don't give me the BS of love. He is a great parent, etc. He is a crappy partner who has a fragile ego and doesn't contribute 50% of the household. Literally evaluate life, because you literally have the short end of the stick with this relationship. I won't call him a loser. If you are a stay-at-home mom and have your husband help you out, would you still call yourself a loser? I agree he acted poorly, but I know my husband. I'm sure there is some deep-seated problem I don't know about. Info. Is alimony a thing where you're from? We live in a no-fault state. That has nothing to do with whether or not alimony gets awarded. You'd best check that out. We don't have a prenup. He has been out of work for 3 years. Maybe I do have to pay him alimony, but I'm not sure. Is there any option where even if he gets alimony, he has to find a job within a certain amount of time, otherwise his spousal support will be revoked? As he is the stay-at-home parent, he will likely get primary custody, as it is seen as better for the kids consistency-wise. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I'd be telling the court about a sleepy driving incident if he files for divorce? My 44 female husband, 47 male, has basically declared war on me. We have 3 kids, 10 male, 7 female, and 3 female. Our son is a talented tennis player. My husband and I are both college athletes, and he almost went professional for baseball. And I used to mentor girls who ended up becoming NFL cheerleaders. My parents never had the money or dedication to support me pursuing what I loved. I made the best of it, but wanted it to be different for my son. So he gets intensive pre-professional training. Because of that, and the fact that we were building our own dream house, my husband worked a night shift job, the first shift job, and also worked as 4 to 6 hour shifts as event staff during weekends. Meanwhile, I had a receptionist job that was 32 hours a week. My son's tennis sucks up the entire income from my husband's night shift job plus my income. The rest of the money was needed to build and maintain our dream house. I thought the contractors had bad insights, so we acted as our own general contractor. We had a construction loan, but on top of that, we had to pour our money into it because things went wrong. Friends told us our only way out was to build something unique enough we could just sell it for high and make some money from it. At that point, we started arguing. Apparently, HelloFresh, which advertises affordability, isn't affordable. Argued about leasing a Jeep versus Toyota. Then came the instance where my husband was driving home from his day shift. He was feeling tired, yet he decided to start the car. He drove for a while, apparently knew he was tired, and then pulled into the runabout area of an apartment complex. He dozed off before putting the car in park and ended up hitting the apartment's garage door. He was fined by the apartment, plus a citation for reckless driving, and the fight started after he walked in the door. I said that they've charged people with felonies for that. He could have lost his career. He starts screaming he has woken up and thinks he worked so hard all for me. He called me a narcissist and said he thinks I get him to do all this because I feel inferior, and to have somebody do all this gives me an extra kick. He then said we needed a trial period apart. We got into an argument yesterday after he said he's thinking of quitting his night shift job and filing for divorce. He insulted our house, saying it looked like 5 people from different eras built parts of it and smashed it together. I replied by saying he's not going to get custody when I tell the judge about him being a reckless driver, and maybe he'd even be denied visitation. He screamed and said even child abusers get visitation, and I replied that a court official wouldn't have to be in a car with them. My husband got calm and said that was the last straw. From now on, I'm no longer important to him. Am I the a-hole for saying things in anger when he's been blaming me? He's the one who decided to get in the car and possibly run over everybody. Why would you hurt your kids like that by denying them access to their father? Why would you even threaten that? You threatened to weaponize the court and his children against him. You're the a-hole. That's terrifying. He fell asleep in his car. A serious medical issue should be ruled out. No one can work 60+ hours consistently over an extended period of time without incident like this, and managing or coordinating the construction would absolutely count as work. And for what exactly is he overextending himself for? A wife who threatens to weaponize their children? A house? And a pipe dream you'll have an Olympian in the family? The chances of your kid becoming or wanting to become an Olympian or a sports star are slim. I had a colleague whose daughter was sent to a special gymnastics school. They stretched themselves financially to put her in that school with coaches who had trained other prospective Olympians. Their daughter turned 16 and didn't want to do it anymore. She wanted to be just a regular kid. Don't overextend yourself financially to promote a pipe dream, unless you can swallow that whole loss with a smile when it likely comes. Sure sounds like your husband has overextended himself, and you all need to think about what's really important in your lives. A kid that I was supposed to graduate with in high school was a really good wrestler, but he couldn't beat this one guy in his weight class. Kid's dad held him back a year so his son could dominate at wrestling. When a kid was a junior, he quit wrestling. Any athlete is one injury away from not having a career. Delusional to destroy the entire family based on this pipe dream. You're the a-hole, and you're the one that declared war. Your husband is exhausted trying to support your ridiculous dreams. Your son is probably not going to be a wealthy pro tennis player. He's probably going to resent the pressure you're putting on him. This dream house is ridiculously impractical, and with your firing your general contractor, your husband's assessment of the house is probably accurate. You're trying to live completely outside your means, and your husband has been killing himself to try and support this. And your response is to use it as a weapon against him. Again, Major, you're the a-hole. I want to say outside of reality. She's a receptionist and wants to live like she's earning a six-figure income and expects the man to make up for her own desires. Also, she's pushing that onto her kids by trying to make one into a pro when they're 10. All it'll do is cause resentment and a hate of the sport. Please note her blaming her parents for not trying hard enough to help her go pro to help my point. After she points out the money, she feels it's okay to use her husband as a workhorse. Update on my situation with future sister-in-law and the dress I'm wearing to her wedding. Original post. I don't know if I can include a dress, but Thursday was my 40th birthday. I usually don't celebrate birthdays. My husband, 40 male, just makes me dinner and give me a present. And then my mom invites me for breakfast and gives me a present from the whole family. But when I turned 20 and 30, I had a bigger party, and now too. I invited immediate family and my closest friends. The party was yesterday and it was a great day, and I'm so hungover now. I noticed that brother-in-law, husband's brother 46 male, and his fiancée 28 female were a bit standoffish. But my soon-to-be sister-in-law is always standoffish with me, so nothing new. But today my husband woke up to a long text message berating us because I wore a white dress. They're getting married in 2 weeks and I should have known better. To be honest, I swear on my grandma's grave that I didn't think about any of this. Future sister-in-law thinks that I always wear inappropriate clothes that draws attention to me. So now she's demanding to see what I will be wearing at her wedding. I ask if they're asking everyone. Nope, just me. I said, then I refuse. Now they say I'm an a-hole for wearing white, and then for refusing to show the dress I'm wearing to the wedding, threatening to disinvite my husband and I. My husband is conflicted, but I don't know. I think I'd rather have my husband go alone than being treated like a child. Am I the a-hole for wearing white to my party? And am I the a-hole for refusing to show my dress for the wedding? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Your future sister-in-law is crazy. Not the a-hole. Careful with a black dress. Your future sister-in-law has a funeral sometime this year and is planning to wear black. Tell sister-in-law you are planning to tie-dye your birthday dress to wear to her wedding. Not the a-hole. She's freaking deluded. Seriously, I would ask why she's making your birthday about her. It has absolutely nothing to do with her wedding. I will say if you skip the wedding, it would only escalate the situation. She's clearly deranged. If she chooses to uninvite you, however, problem solved. This is it. Your day, wear whatever you want. On her wedding day, sure, don't wear white. But on my birthday, you're going to tell me what is appropriate? Who does she think she is? This is obviously a jealous thing, seems like. Maybe the brother made a comment or looked at her in a way that made fiancé uncomfortable? Not OP's problem. Personally, I wouldn't attend a wedding. Apparently, getting married in 2 weeks means she owns the color white for as long as she wants. Ridiculous. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your dress choice for either event is perfect. For your husband's sake, because this is his brother and his family and his drama and he has to deal with the fallout, I would send a picture of the wedding outfit. Just because I love my husband and want him to have an easier time with life, and I can easily make that happen. I would now send a model pic. That will set her off. I would have you wearing the dress, either first thing in the morning or just got off work, bedraggled. No makeup, no foundation garments, hair a mess, maybe some fluffy socks on. Post in a bathroom or in a mirror at a bad angle with your hand with a phone in the way. Just make it look like a sack. Get clear approval. Then when you show up in the approved dress looking like $1 million, can't nobody say anything. And if they do, you've got the text message receipts to show she approved it. Now for the update. Okay, so I was very surprised about the amount of support I got. Thank you, because I was starting to doubt myself. I just want to make it clear that the only one I care about right now is my husband and his feelings, because somehow I felt that he is in the middle of the crossfire right now. So I talked to him and apologized for my pettiness. He was surprised and said that I had nothing to apologize for. Requesting to only approve of my dress out of the 270 guests? It's insulting and disrespectful. You don't do that to family. So I told him that maybe I shouldn't go to the wedding after all. Sister-in-law never liked me anyway, and I'm sure I'm only invited because she can't not to. She'd be happy if I didn't attend, and the whole thing felt like she was finding an excuse to disinvite me. My husband then can go and be there for his brother. Everybody wins. My husband called my brother-in-law to tell him that I couldn't come, and he will be attending by himself. Brother-in-law said, "Okay, cool. Problem solved, right?" No. Future sister-in-law texted me saying that I needed to show her the dress, and refusing to show her means that she is right and I have chosen something inappropriate and trashy. I texted back, "Oh, I thought you've spoken to your fiancé. I won't be attending." She texted an hour later, "Yes, I have spoken to my fiancé. If you remember from yesterday, none of you are welcome if you don't show me the dress. So if you still refuse, neither you nor husband can attend." I talked to my husband now, and he literally had no words. He said to stop texting future sister-in-law and that he will fix this. So I'm staying the heck out of this. Your sister-in-law is unreasonable, burning with envy, and the extent she took is just pathetic. Both the white birthday dress, which you had every right to wear to your own birthday, and your wedding reception dress are gorgeous. But I believe your dresses are not the issue here, but rather her inferiority complex. Good luck to your brother-in-law. And if he's as pathetic as his soon-to-be wife, good luck to all of you dealing with them. My thoughts exactly. Just cut them dead to avoid a lifetime of this pedantic nonsense. You should send her a picture of your dress worn by your husband. She is crazy. But also, brother-in-law should date women his age. Lol, brother-in-law is another gem. He cheated on his ex because she had several miscarriages. And when he got caught, he said it was because he was depressed for not having a family. They divorced. This was 3 years ago. Now his ex is pregnant with her new man, who is actually future sister-in-law's ex-boyfriend. And brother-in-law is devastated she moved on faster than him. So I think this whole marriage is to one-up his ex, to be honest, because she's not married yet. Of course, these are all speculation and gossip. I thought maybe you would appreciate some background story/gossip. Cheating on someone suffering multiple miscarriages? This a-hole is the devil. Hopefully an STI that he gave her didn't cause the miscarriages. Just skip the wedding. Tell them both you'll make it to the next one. Dogs don't change their spots. I've actually heard that leopards can't change their shorts. A snake can shed its skin, but it doesn't make it any less of a snake. I still say show up to the wedding in your birthday dress. Still the only wedding I would suggest this level of pettiness. Well, my other sister-in-law, my husband's sister, heard this whole thing about us being disinvited and said if we didn't attend, she's going to ask all the cousins to wear revealing dresses. She sounded like she meant it. While it's hilarious, I really hope it doesn't escalate into this type of petty. To be honest, it sounds like the pettiness needs to be matched. I think it would be a good thing for the entire family to do everything in their power to bother her. What's the worst that could happen? She's already lost every single one of her marbles, so there's no worry she'll lose them now. Some people never had boundaries enforced around them before, and sister-in-law is clearly too entitled to comprehend the basic English y'all been speaking. Think of it as doing a service for the public, because we want to get this a-hole the heck out of your family, but we gotta make sure she ain't gonna go terrorize some other suckers. People need to learn. She obviously wasn't taught as a child, and she's old enough now to catch some hands. Not saying any of y'all should throw them, but someone is going to eventually. Be it someone from your family eventually getting fed up, or her next victims. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be the godparent for my ex's baby? I, 32 female, and my ex, 27 male, are fairly successful business partners. We were friends at first. Slowly we got together and were together for 3 years. I made it clear that I am asexual. I have no desire for intimate. The whole act ranges from disgusting to indifference for me. I had a very traumatic experience in the past, which resulted in my daughter, 8th female, whom I love very much. My ex understood and said he doesn't have high libido either and wants to be with me. I was madly in love and thought finally met my match. But 3 months ago, it all came crashing down when I found out he has been cheating on me for months and his affair partner is pregnant. I was devastated, to say the least. But I have decided to be celibate for the rest of my life to save myself from heartbreak. I moved away from my ex to another state as we are expanding our business. I plan to move with my daughter permanently once it's set up. My ex's family love me and I love them too. We share a good relationship despite my ex. His grandparents invited me to celebrate their anniversary over brunch. I love them and we 3 share inside jokes. Ex and his now pregnant girlfriend were present. I managed to avoid them for most part. But ex's girlfriend got up, announced her pregnancy, and looked at me straight in the eye and said, "We want you to be our munchkin's godparent once he comes." I was awkward, anxious, and straight up mad. I snort laughed to keep my appearance and said, "Oh, you don't want that. I am moving away. The baby needs someone who can be around." The party went silent and the mood definitely changed. I left the next 40 minutes. My ex has been blowing up my phone and calling me selfish, that I didn't consider the grandparents' feelings and ruin their day. They are all very upset over how the party turned out, and his girlfriend is embarrassed and has been crying. I asked him why did he put me in that situation, and he said grandparents were very upset I wasn't going to be part of the family anymore. So girlfriend thought making me godparent would somehow make them happy? I've stopped responding, but I do feel guilty for ruining their party. Maybe I should have dealt with it in private. I love them, and I don't want this to be our last moment. Now for the comments. Lol, they thought they could put you on the spot into accepting and legitimizing their affair in the eyes of the family, and they're mad you didn't play along. Ignore them. They were classless, tacky a-holes all the way. I would have responded, "You are out of your damn mind to ask me that. Were you raised by baboons?" Took the words right out of my mouth. Your ex and his mistress were selfish enough to put you on the spot for their benefit, and now have the gall to say you're being selfish. They are the ones who upset his grandparents, not you. Also, it sounds like his grandparents aren't thrilled about having a home wrecker in the family. Not the a-hole. The audacity asking you to be godparent to their unborn baby when your ex cheated on you with her. So wild that people do this. The disrespect. Right? I just saw on another post someone use the phrase, "the lion, the witch, and the audacity of this bitch." And that is definitely running through my head with his story too. Not the a-hole. If ex is going to gaslight you and guilt trip you even before the baby is born, maybe it's best to split up the business. The business in another state is yours and the business in this state is his. After you take your share, of course, and have a lawyer draw an airtight contract. Your ex is a cheater. One who cheats in marriage will cheat in business. You are friends. You're just civil acquaintances now. What's next? They'd ask you to be maid of honor at their wedding? The business was initially funded by his grandparents and my parents. My brother will be stepping in my place, and I will be setting up the out-of-state one. I will tell my brother to keep an eye on him. Haha, no wonder his grandparents are giving him grief. You were the one couple to join the families in business forever, and you ruined that. Last story. Am I the a-hole for letting my friend struggle with her newborn baby? I, female 31, have a friend 32. Let's call her Laura. We've been friends since elementary school, but our relationship had a few rough patches. We're close, but she can be a little self-centered and callous. I know it's rooted in childhood trauma, and it's not intentional. She suffers the most from constantly driving people away, but sometimes it's still hard to stay by her side. Laura had a one-night stand and got pregnant. I told her it would be irresponsible to be a single mom when she can barely support herself, but she's decided to keep it anyway. So now she has a 2-month-old daughter, Mia. She had to quit her job halfway through the pregnancy, because it was harder than expected and obviously can't go back in the near future. She's also depleted her savings, and now her only income is childcare benefit and monthly allowance from her parents until she can get a job, but it's not enough to cover her expenses. Last week, she came up with the idea that they could move into my guest room. She thinks it'd be perfect because I own the apartment, so there's no rent. We can split bills and groceries. I can watch the baby when Laura's tired, and she can help out with chores while I'm working. I said no and couldn't even explain why, because she immediately started screaming about how I'm selfish, heartless a-hole. How can I be so cruel and cold, and that I don't understand what she's going through? I tried to tell her to move back home because I know Laura's mom already offered it, but she called me an a-hole again because as a mother, she can't live with her parents. Even though she can be a bit entitled, it's never been this bad, so her behavior came as a surprise. I gave her a few days to calm down, then I called to explain that while I love them both, I can't take them in. I've already helped Laura buy newborn essentials, and I told her I can help cleaning or cooking so she can have some rest, but I can't do anything more. I've recently been diagnosed with panic disorder. I'm at the end of my rope, and I'm clearly not in a mental or emotional state to basically adopt a family. She started crying and said that she's disappointed in me because I have no idea what it means to be a mother, and I don't even try to understand her situation. Then she told me she's not sure anymore if they even need me in their life. I feel guilty and terrible for not being able to do more for them, especially for Mia, who doesn't deserve to grow up like this. And I know Laura needs help because being a single mother is terrifying, but I can't do more. I can't do more. She says her real friend wouldn't put herself first. But if I don't put myself first now, I'm not sure I'll ever be able to recover from this disorder. But maybe she's right, and I'm just being a selfish a-hole now. Am I? Not the a-hole. Laura has a consequence, and now wants to freeload off of you? You might be dodging a bullet if she cuts you off. Yep, that was a preview of her true behavior. Be thankful you saw that before you agreed to let her move in. You can be a supportive friend without letting her move in and walk all over you. If that's not good enough for her, then it's her loss, not yours, not the a-hole. They never considered or offered or discussed letting her move in. This was totally the friend's scheme. I think so too. She straight up invited herself to live in OP's apartment. Rent-free, I might add, because sis made sure to point out that since OP owned a unit, there was no rent, which is hilarious. And then Volin told OP to babysit for free probably every single evening after work. Absolutely not. OP is not obliged to play full house with his friend. She acts just a little entitled? No, how about entitled in a major way? She's the only one who got pregnant and quit her job because it was too hard. She has an expectation of everyone taking care of her in the manner she sees fit. Sorry, that is not how the world works. She should be able to find daycare and start working. Yes, being a parent, especially a single parent, can be hard. This is what she chose. It's no reflection on you for drawing boundaries and not taking her in and supporting her. It's rather presumptuous of her to assume that this would be okay. I don't care if she has an abuse history in the past. She's making these decisions and nobody else. You are not the a-hole here, and stick to your boundaries. She needs to figure this out, and it's not on you to support her or her newborn daughter. She says a real friend wouldn't put herself first. Well then, she isn't a real friend because all she's doing is putting herself first, not the a-hole. A real mother would put herself first. Her mother already offered her help and a place to live, and she won't move back in because reasons? And my guess is those reasons are entirely ego-related, or her mother will expect her to contribute to her own upkeep. Probably because she'll have to pay a bit of rent and help around the house, and contribute to the group like a responsible adult. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife's friend that her taste in men is the reason she's a single mom? I, 29 male, have known my wife, 30 female, and her best friend Jess, 29 female, since we were all 11. We attended middle and high school together, but I wasn't in their social circles at all. I was always one of the sort of nerdy, awkward kids, and the two of them were both very popular. My wife in particular was extremely popular because she was, and still is, extremely beautiful, kind, and intelligent. She was even our student body president and valedictorian. Jess was also very pretty, and I even had a tiny crush on her back then, and similarly popular, and they've been best friends since kindergarten. My wife and I started dating our senior year of high school after we were paired together to complete a project in one of our classes. We realized that we got along really well, and she asked me out, and I definitely wasn't saying no to her. But Jess, from the very start, did not respect our relationship and firmly believed that my wife could do much better. She has, in a decade plus since, consistently told that my wife is out of my league, that I was lucky she settled for me so young, and that my wife belongs with a more attractive and successful man. Now, I'm the first one to admit that my wife is out of my league. She's far more attractive, makes more money, and is just generally an amazing human being. But hearing it so often doesn't exactly feel good. Jess also has tried to convince my wife to cheat on me multiple times and has even tried to set her up with other men because she doesn't approve of my wife and I being the only partners either of us have ever had. Jess has a daughter, 5 female, whose father bailed on her and raises her as a single mom. Jess actually dropped out of med school to raise her daughter once she realized the father was not going to be in the picture. My wife and I absolutely love her daughter and love having her over. Jess had a date on Saturday night, so she left her daughter with us for the night and came to pick her up on Sunday and stayed for lunch. As I was preparing lunch for everyone and her daughter was playing in the yard, Jess and my wife were talking about her date. Jess was going on and on about how attractive the guy was, how good he was in bed, and all of the details. But I just ignored it. Jess then looked to me and said, "You're lucky you locked her down when you were so young," before she knew that there was better out there, and then turned to my wife and offered to give the guy her number in case she wanted to try him out. I got really angry at that point, so I just said, "I doubt you know anything about better, because your taste in men is why you're a single mom, and not a doctor right now." Both of them just stared at me in shock, and then Jess called me an a-hole and left quickly with her daughter. My wife has been upset with me since, so I have to ask, am I the a-hole? Edit. I just wanted to point out that my wife acknowledges that what Jess said was inappropriate, but thinks that what I said was unnecessarily cruel. It was always Jess's dream to be a doctor like her dad, especially after her dad passed away, and now that's probably never going to happen. Jess has said this to me before, so I was aware of it, and my wife thinks it was uncalled for to press on something that's so clearly a pressure point for her. Jess also frequently bemoans the pains of being a single mom, and about how all of the guys she goes out with ghost her as soon as she mentions her daughter. This is mainly why my wife is upset with me, because she thinks I purposely hurt Jess, while Jess's comments are a joke and aren't meant to hurt my feelings, which is probably mostly true. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your wife is the biggest a-hole. She's allowed Jess to talk down to you for years and done nothing. You deserve better. You are out of her league. Jess is obviously an a-hole for treating you like crap and trying to get your wife to see other men for years. She should be banned from the house. I wouldn't say my wife's done absolutely nothing. I mean, she has told Jess that her comments are inappropriate before. But I honestly think my wife has a hard time standing up to Jess in general. Not even just about me, but Jess also says inappropriate things about my wife. And my wife still doesn't say much. Nothing and not much aren't very far apart in my book. This has been going on for years and should have been stopped already. She's offering your wife phone numbers. She tells her you aren't worthy of her. She's a home wrecker, always has been. Your wife needs to set her straight. My wife has been upset with me since. That's BS treatment from her. Your wife owes you a huge apology and needs to cut contact with Jess. Put your foot down. Not the a-hole, and your wife should not be allowing Jess to disrespect you, especially in your own home. I think you should lay some ground rules out for your wife about how Jess treats you and what you are willing or not willing to tolerate. Jess is very much the a-hole here, but your wife is a close second for not stepping in. Yeah, I think that's necessary. Part of the reason why I feel so strongly about this is because we recently found out that my wife is pregnant, though we haven't told anyone yet. So Jess doesn't know that my wife wants to make Jess the godmother. I personally don't want my kid to be raised by someone who thinks so lowly of one of the parents, but maybe that's just me. Not the a-hole. Why is your wife still friends with someone who constantly puts her husband down and encourages her to cheat at every opportunity? Honestly, I think you're the only one in this situation who isn't an a-hole. Jess is one for obvious reasons. I doubt I have to explain them. Your wife is one for not shutting that nonsense down long ago. But your reaction is justified. You've endured Jess's remarks for years. It's understandable that you finally snapped. Honestly, Jess isn't even particularly nice to my wife either. She's always making inappropriate comments. I didn't include this in the post because I didn't really feel like it was relevant. But my wife told Jess about the crush I had on her when we were younger. And Jess always tell my wife how she could have had me if she wanted, and that she's lucky I never tried to take your man. She even said this in front of both mine and my wife's parents. I seriously don't get her. Good Lord, this woman just gets worse and worse. I think she's actually trying to start drama between you and your wife. She's a turd stirrer for sure. Next story. Am I the a-hole for opting out of my best friend's wedding because they didn't invite my girlfriend? My 28 male childhood best friend Brad, 28 male, is getting married in late May to Vicky, 26 female. A week ago on Easter, I received his wedding invite which only listed my name but not my girlfriend Mary, 28 female. For context, Brad, Mary and I have known each other since high school. We were in the same friend group. Mary and I live around 2 hours away from Brad and Vicky, but because Mary's a nurse, she doesn't always have the time to visit Brad and Vicky with me, so I go alone most of the time. But when she's able, she'll join me. Mary has met Vicky and seen her around 10 times in the past 4 years that Vicky's with Brad. Mary and I have been together for 6 years total, and we do plan on getting engaged and married once we are financially settled. So, I asked Brad if Mary is invited and they just forgot to mention her name. To which he replied that Vicky is very strict about some rules. And in order to cut down costs, she's enforcing a no ring, no bring rule for the wedding. So since Mary is just a girlfriend and doesn't have a ring to imply some formality, then she's not invited. I reminded Brad that Mary and I have been together longer than he's with Vicky, and that Mary's also his friend, not just my partner. He says he knows, and tried to talk Vicky out of it, but she's very strict with that. I'll let it go, and I was in a dilemma about whether I should go to the wedding or not because of that. Mary told me she's not happy about the situation, but that I should go to avoid more drama, so I called them to tell them I'll attend. Vicky picked up the phone and said she's sorry about making me uncomfortable by not inviting Mary, but these are the rules. I said I respect the rules. I'm not necessarily happy about it though. She then, for some reason, started being harsh about how Mary and I are not in a serious enough relationship if, after knowing each other for so long and being together for 6 years, we are not engaged yet, and joked that, after all, you never know what tomorrow brings, and that I could break up with Mary anytime since we haven't shown any signs of true commitment. I confronted her and told her that it's not her place to validate Mary and I's relationship, and that it's really low of her to use a dumb rule just to shame and micromanage long-term couples who, for whatever reason, haven't gotten married yet. I said I'll pass after all and not attend the wedding. She and Brad said I'm disrespecting them and their choices by choosing Mary over their wedding day, and I said I don't care. Keep your rules, and I'll keep my relationship because it's more important than any exclusive rules that only exist in order to shame people. I've been receiving a lot of backlash from other friends for that choice since, who said I'm an a-hole for being so bitter about something so small. But to me it's not small. They invalidated Mary and our relationship. Not the a-hole. What a stupid rule. And stupid in this instance for many specific reasons. First of all, Mary and Brad were in the same high school friend group, so it could easily be argued that she could be invited purely based on being his friend and totally independent of her relationship with you. Second, using marriage as a barometer of commitment is insane. So by Bride's logic, if cousin Chad gets drunk in Vegas and marries the girl he's been dating for 2 weeks, she would get an invite, while your girlfriend of 6 years would not? That is so dumb. And to top all this off, you were initially willing to let it go and just come anyhow, but then Bride had to double down and insult your relationship to your face. That just sucks. Groom needs to step up and be a good friend and tell Bride she's being ridiculous. I really tried to look past so much stuff and go to the wedding just to honor my friend. I was willing to let go of the fact that Brad didn't even invite Mary not as my girlfriend, but as his friend. They're friends for God's sake. The fact that she's in a relationship with me now doesn't change the fact that we are friends. It is like Vicky wanted to rub it in my face about the no ring, no bring thing, and how insignificant my relationship with Mary is to her. I'd bet $100 that Vicky doesn't like Mary, and that's the real underlying issue here. When someone comes up with a BS rationale like this, it is usually hiding a darker reason. It's often also to show power and dominance. Weddings are a fantastic time to see what people are made of. Here are a few red flags that typically pop up. Many tyrants who override all decisions made by their spouse and don't consider their mate at all. Responsibility shirkers who try to get out of doing any work. Freeloaders who try to get free stuff for minimal effort. Backstabbers trying to use the occasion to get even for stuff they don't dare address in real life. Typical from the families and bridal parties. False witnesses and people who never intend to stay true to their wedding vows. Attention hogs who try to make the process and party all about themselves, etc., etc., etc. I've known people like Vicky who get engaged and suddenly look down on anyone who isn't engaged or married, no matter how long a couple has been together. I had an acquaintance who banned all single people from her wedding, even though her fiancé was planning to have several single friends in his wedding party. Some of them had partners for years. The bride said to me that married people shouldn't be around single people. The last time I saw that couple, they were arguing about her rules for their wedding. It's super silly. Last story. Am I the a-hole for supposedly lying about having a son? Everyone involved here is in their late 20s to 30s. So last Christmas, my wife and I threw a Christmas party. A friend of mine I've known half my life, Rick, asked the day before if I could invite a few friends, which we thought was a bit inconvenient but agreed. One of these friends, Mila, brought a little boy with her, could not have been much older than 5. This was not a party for children, and I wish someone would have told me first that a child would be coming, for my wife and I would have advised against it. At a party, Mila's son played up a lot, and at one point was having a full-on tantrum while Mila was in the bathroom. I tried to calm him down, showing him some pictures of our dog we had in our fridge, and when Mila came back she was very grateful. She asked me if I had any children, and I told her I had a 7-year-old. We spoke briefly about our sons, and then she and her son went out to the garden where most of the guests were. The problem is that, in 2021 we lost my son. It was heartbreaking for me and my wife, and not something I wanted to divulge to a stranger. My wife and I still consider ourselves parents, and I would have thought that me being a parent might have been reassuring for her. However, Rick has since begun dating Mila, and has wanted to introduce her to our friends again. The topic of our Christmas party and our brief exchange in the kitchen came up when Rick informed Mila that my son had been dead for over a year. Mila now considers me to be a liar and untrustworthy and is not interested in seeing me again as she thought we had bonded over our sons. And Rick is annoyed he had to be the one to tell her about my dead son and demand I apologize to Mila for misleading her, which my wife finds insulting. On one hand, I do not think I did anything wrong. She was a stranger to me, and I doubted I would ever see her again. But I know this is causing tension in their relationship, and I do not wish to make Rick's life worse. So I am wondering if I should just apologize to keep them both happy. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your wife is right. This is insulting. You don't owe anyone an explanation or apology. You are not obligated to divulge the death of your young son to anyone. Ever. Thank you so much for your comment. Your friend Rick is an a-hole. Some stories/secrets aren't ours to tell. His girlfriend Mila is also an a-hole. She clearly needs to reevaluate herself for getting mad and expecting an apology for something that doesn't concern her. Bonding over a 10-minute convo is bull. She's just looking for a fight. I'm sorry for your loss, OP. Not the a-hole. I think Rick is an a-hole, but not for telling her. This woman became a big part of his life, so he expected for her to spend a lot of time around Opie and his wife. They told her of the son's existence, and naturally, she expected that the son would be making an appearance sooner or later. I think telling her beforehand, so she's not constantly brought up their deceased child, or asking to see him was the best thing to do, rather than Opie to admit the truth over a double date or a barbecue. He's an a-hole for not immediately kicking this woman to the curb when she heard his friend lost a child, and her first thought was, how dare he lie to me, and not how devastating for him. He's an a-hole for being annoyed he had to be the one to tell her, instead of understanding why his best friend for decades might not have dropped it at the middle of a Christmas party. Opie might have history with this dude, but he sounds self-centered as heck, and now it sounds like there are 2 of him. It might be time to reevaluate this friendship. Not the a-hole. And Rick is a terrible friend. Sparing you having to be the one to explain that your son is dead should be something he is happy to do as a supportive friend, honestly. And Mila needs to get over herself and not blame you for anything. Her reaction was so cruel. I wonder if she'd told her son about how he'd get to meet your son, and now she's mad she has to explain death to him? Wouldn't justify this behavior, but it might explain it. I think he believes I lied to her to avoid an awkward conversation. So now he is annoyed he was the one who had to have that conversation. Honestly, I wish they had not been talking about my family at all. I had not considered that. It is possible. I have not been told they were planning to have the boy meet up with us again, but they did not mention that he would be attending last time either, so I suppose I cannot rule it out. I do not know her well enough to really judge if she's that sort of person. Thanks for the comment. Not a-hole at all, this nutty woman has the very worst case of main character syndrome I've ever seen. Edric's behavior in this absurd situation is unforgivable. The fact that he didn't shut her down immediately says it all. And the fact that he even mentioned this to you makes him utterly unredeemable. He thinks you owe her an apology? They both owe you the most heartfelt and sincere apology in the history of apologies. You wonder if you should apologize to them to keep the peace. Here's the only piece of advice, words to live by actually, that I can offer. The person who's being pressured to keep the peace is never the one who is threatening the peace in the first place. Being friends with these bottom dwellers will ruin your peace, and I'll bet your wife would agree.